everybody, and welcome back to Quick Review Thursday. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody, and I've got an awesome special guest who hasn't been on this show yet. Please welcome Lacy Lou. How you doing, Lacy?
Good. Thank you for having me, Jonathan Moody.
Yeah. We did a podcast before on what is it?
Urban behavior.
Disturbing behavior. So Lacey keeps wanting to do more with me because she does other stuff with other people, and I mean, I guess you just can't get enough, of reviews. But so I sent her this one because we pretty much through most of the quick review Thursdays we've done every season we've done a Asylum movie that's on Tubi. There's a million of them.
Right.
And you got to get through them all at some point. So I figured, we'd watch When a Killer Calls, which I remember when it first came out. And I was so excited because, I love the babysitter and the man upstairs story. So this was an Asylum mockbuster for the When a Stranger Calls remake, that happened.
And
Did you
kind
ever
of
see the
like
remake?
when a stranger calls.
Hmm.
Yes. Like I don't full on remember it. I just recently rewatched the original though. But I prefer when a stranger calls back.
Oh, in the original, like from the original movies? Yeah,
Yeah,
those
have you
were
seen
those were
the prequel?
better, but you know.
Yeah.
Uh but then yeah, but the remake I thought was okay, like it was updated version with teens, and stuff. And that's sort of what this was supposed to be, right? Updated version with teens, you know?
Uh, when this
People
came
what?
when this came out, I actually worked at Blockbuster like in 2006. So like I would always walk by it and I'm surprised like I didn't actually ever rent it before. But I just remember the cover like very vividly. Like it almost kind of like the because the blue kind of mirrored Last House on the Left a bit.
Hmm.
And
It's
like there
got like
were
a house in the back. Yeah, it's got a little bit of a Last House on the Left kind of feel. But
artwork, yeah.
yeah, artwork wise. Um, so this is a quick review. We're not going to go into like so much detail and not again talk about the whole story. I mean, if you know When a Stranger Calls You, at least the remake sort of thing, you kind of know the story. I mean, it's babysitter babysitting, and she gets harassed and by disturbing phone calls that by this person saying basically, have you checked on Molly, the whole time, and stuff
Right.
like that. And then he knows her name. And what really, like, now that I'm actually thinking about it, because now that we know by the end of the spoiler alert, by the way, we're gonna spoil this movie, but by the end of it, he knew her and she knew him. How did
Right.
he never disguised his voice? How, you know what I mean? He never like talked deeper and things. How did she not go, Mr. whatever his name was, why are you harassing me? Right? Like
Well,
wouldn't she know who he was?
I mean, if you really think about it this way, like he's harassing her and she still decides to take her top off.
That's true.
Like, I don't think this is the smartest babysitter we've dealt with before. She's
Yeah,
no Laurie Strode.
she is not. And it does have like a little Halloween kind of vibe to it too. Like I'm surprised they didn't try to set this during Halloween, or whatever, close to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I actually didn't mind it. I mean, I thought the kills were pretty good.
Kills were
Uh,
good.
I feel like I mean it like you can totally tell like when they're repeatedly stabbing, they're clearly like just stabbing like a package of meat or something. But
Yeah.
like, with that sound effect. But I thought the opening kill where he was like, open your mouth. And then he,
That was pretty brutal.
I was like, that was pretty good, because like, you can already tell it's lower budget and like it almost has like shot on video feel to it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it was. I mean, I'm pretty sure it wasn't shot on like film. So, in a way, it is shot
I mean,
on video.
it looks like, yeah.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. But yeah, so it has that feel, it has that style, it has that aspect to it. My favorite character in the whole movie, and sadly she died, is Chrissy. the Sarah Hall's character, and I actually wanted her to live. And then when like she was first attacked, I thought, oh, she's dead. But then we find her later and she's alive. I was like, okay, well that's good. And then they kill her, and I'm like, well that's bad.
Do you think
Like,
she got it worse, or do you think Clay from One Tree Hill got it worse?
which one is that? Is that the
The
boyfriend?
boyfriend, and he's got like his teeth knocked out, and he was like, "Here, you got a good mouth for it," or something. I can't remember the exact line, but like, and then he just like makes him motorboat with like his chipped teeth. Like,
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. I think both of them pretty got it. Yeah, I think I did not know that guy was from One Tree Hill. That's funny.
he came in
Um,
like the later seasons, but yeah.
After this movie,
It was probably, well, God, I'm trying to yeah, it was way after this movie because I think 2006 for One Tree Hill would have been like season 3, and he was like towards like probably season 6 or 7.
they didn't see this on his resume, and I was like, hmm.
Well, he does a lot of like Hallmark movies now.
Oh, I think a lot of them do. Like I see all these great actors, and they're like doing Lifetime and Hallmark, and it's like, oh well, they need work, I guess. Um, but
I'm a sucker for him, as you know, if you listen to our disturbed behavior show. So
Yeah, no, I am too. I actually like them. That's when I got to work on one. I was they're actually, but four. I was so excited. I didn't want to
yeah,
ask the guy that asked, that was doing it, like, can I be in your, can I be in the lifetime stuff? Right? I didn't want to do that. But when he asked for me and my roommate to be in it, I was like, I'm down. Let's do it, because I love those things. And it's stuff I'd watch, really enough. I don't know. I like seeing dramas and comedies and whatnot. Anyway, so to go back to When a Killer Calls. I'm sorry, When a Killer Calls. Which I mean, I guess if you're gonna change one word, that's the perfect one to do it. Um, but
word.
yeah, it sort of doesn't rhyme, but it sort of fits with stranger, killer, stranger, you know.
Right. And I
Th-
love that the name, like, because this is also like kind of like in the vein of like uh like when they're self-referential to other like horror things, but like the name is the Hewitts that she's babysitting for.
oh, like
I
Hewlett?
think, or is her name a Hewitt? I think it's Hewitt, but yeah.
Is that like, are you
Watched it today
saying
for the first time.
like Jennifer Love Hewlett, or is that like
Like,
there's?
could be Jennifer Love Hewitt, or it could be like Texas Chainsaw the Hewitts.
Oh, okay. I didn't know the Texas Chainsaw had the Hewletts. Um,
Hewitts.
Hewitts. Uh, so there's two problems I have with this movie. One, like that, there's probably more, but the two that like really stick out to me. First of all, the sound was atrocious.
Oh my God. It was so like
Yeah,
up and
so it
yeah.
would up and down, and then on top of that, like I had subtitles on. So Tubi does like nice and lets us have subtitles. And sometimes even the subtitles can catch what the people are saying. It'll be like inaudible. And
Yeah.
I was like, that's sad. Or the subtitle will say the wrong word because they thought it was something else, or
The
whatever.
sound was so off.
Yeah, I'm thinking like an AI is doing the subtitling, not paying attention.
It
Um,
wouldn't surprise me.
yeah, I mean, makes sense. But yeah, so the sound was awful. I mean, there were times where I couldn't hear anything people were saying because like the music was too loud, or I couldn't hear anything people were saying because the microphone was too low and stuff. So that was obnoxious. The other funny thing is, did you notice that when he was out there killing the cops, it was dark as fuck, nighttime, obvious, when he comes back in and they basically escape and get out, that would have taken about 5 minutes. She runs out, it's like broad daylight, and I was like, really? You
They
couldn't
must have ran out of budget and had to like do quick reshoots.
do it at night. Like, there's gotta be. somebody like a continuity person there, like saying,
I think
you
that
know,
when they were making this film, though, they're like, God, this is going to be the next Scream. Or, like, do you really think they thought that while making this? Because if you look at the poster, the color scheme of the entire movie looks like the poster as you're watching it.
right.
It's so blue. Like, I don't know why it's so blue and dark, but yeah.
I don't like maybe they weren't thinking that, but they were, I mean, they have to be thinking like people are gonna buy this because of the When a Stranger Calls or by accident. Because that used to be a marketing ploy of theirs for the Asylum, is they would do King of the Lost World, right? Also by the Asylum. And King of the Lost World would be right next to King Kong and
Yeah.
King of King Kong. So King Kong would be first. I guess, wait, alphabetical, yes. So it'd be worse. That would be first. Then King of the Lost World, right? And then
Mhm.
somebody's grandma. This is how I always explain it. Somebody's grandma is going into the video store back then, because as you said, you worked at Blockbuster and that was there. So they would go up and they would say, "Oh, King Kong," and they would grab King of the Lost World by mistake because it was right next to it. They can't tell the difference. They don't know. They bring it home. They show it to their grandson, and their grandson's like, "What's this?" And it is not the same movie at all. In fact, King of the Lost World had more violence and sexual stuff or whatever than King Kong, the PG-13 movie, had. So I don't know. It
Well, it's
was
also guilty of like the cover of, putting an attractive female with her breast hanging out.
right.
Like that was very a thing of the mid 2000s to do.
Well, that was in 80s and 90s and like a lot of once they started realizing they could market sex as a thing. Like
Right.
I was told by a director who saw one of my posters and he said, "Your actresses are not wearing sexy clothes in the picture." And I was like, I don't want my actresses to like they don't what? Like I don't get that. But that's a marketing thing, because you
Right.
see sexy girls with like their cleavage and just like this one, you know, and people go, "Oh my God, you know." And it's funny because I'm actually friends with Rebecca, who's the lead and everything on Facebook. I absolutely adore her. I think when she worked on the Asylum movies, she did a great job. Like she did the best she could with what she was given and probably
Right.
the time that she was given. And I mean, if you think about a lot of these are just rushed, because they don't have the money to just spend like months on a movie. They have 10 days, to make something or less to make something pretty decent. And most of the movie took place in a house, you know. Like I think only a couple different locations, but most of it was at this house. And I usually don't like those kind of movies, but it didn't bore me at all, really. Like, I mean, it just sort of did go a little, did feel like at times like, okay, when are we gonna get to like some murders, but or
Right.
something.
Yeah.
But you know, um, what did you think of the other characters? Like, did you like the two friends, the Sarah Hall's part and Derek? I'm gonna butcher his name, so I'm not even gonna say it. Osa. Okay, I'm gonna say Osa Doc or something like that. I think it's
They were fine. I mean, they were serviceable for, the role. Like they didn't have much depth. So,
yeah, they were there to be basically killed. They were
exactly.
they were
Uh,
kill fodder.
but like I said, I think that's like the aspect of the movie that like I kind of enjoyed the most was the kills. And the characters didn't like really full on annoy me or anything. I mean, of course, they making bad decisions with having a party, and the dad's obviously like no parties, and it's like, I mean, it's a 4-person get together. Is that really a fucking party? You know what I mean? But also, I probably wouldn't be inviting people over if I was babysitting either because that's just not who I am. But
Right.
like I probably would have just been on the phone with my friends all night. I would have been the CC Cooper.
Yeah. Sarah Michelle Gellar walking around and chatting on the phone, but she was CC Cooper was waiting for her boyfriend, her drunk boyfriend to come over or whatever. You sound wasted, Brad.
uh
I think it was his
what's his
name.
name? No, it's not Brad. Oh God, why can't I? Ted. His name was Ted.
Ted. That's right.
You wish it was Ted.
You wish it was Ted.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it since last year, I think. You know, when I
The
was
girl
doing
on
a
the cover
review for
kind
it.
of looks like Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Yeah. She has a
Like
very Sarah Michelle
not in the
Gellar.
movie, but in that photo she does.
Yeah. And I think that's a way they market it is they say, oh, okay, this girl looks probably similar to somebody you've seen, and let's, make it look like that, you know. Aside from those other issues, like, I mean,
What'd you think of the killer?
he was okay. I mean, he wasn't
What'd you think of his motivation?
because he was obsessed with her because like she babysat for him, I
But he killed
guess,
other people though.
randomly, like, which doesn't, you
Like,
know,
did he just go around hoping that she was going to be the one sitting for other kids? Like,
yeah, and how did he know, like, how did he? I mean, I guess he did have that video camera in the house, which I'm like thinking the
but it's
parents
not
never
her
saw
house,
that.
right? But it wasn't her house; it was the parents.
I
Like,
know. So the parents never saw that. Like, they were like, honey, why did you put a surveillance camera in our house? And did you notice that when he said, you look like you've seen a ghost, she
so many
didn't get like
times.
creeped out or anything? Like,
Yeah.
that would have been the perfect time to have like a close up of her face going, like this guy can see me. And
And it's
then,
just a total rip-off line from Scream.
right, yeah, sort of is. And then on top of that, then she finds out the killer's been calling from inside the house. I'm like, how do you not know that? Like, he just said he could see your fucking, like it you're right. This character wasn't the smartest of all the babysitters. She wasn't thinking straight. But if you think about it, you go back to Halloween, Laurie Strode wasn't very smart, you know. She wasn't like, you
More lucky than anything.
yeah, she ran into a closet and was able to
Dr. Loomis
escape.
shows up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, she was able to wait till Dr. Loomis shot Michael, basically.
Times.
What?
6 times.
Yeah. And he still lived and disappeared, and from what I've heard, that was like only the plan. Like John Carpenter just wanted to kind of leave it at that,
And
and that was it. You know, kind of like Carrie, where it's just like something wacky. Something happens, and you're like, oh, this, could have a sequel, and then Carrie never had a sequel, and then Halloween had like way too many. You know,
true. Yeah. I
just
actually
kept
like
going.
the Raid Carrie too.
Yeah, they did make Carrie 2 later, right? Like they
Well,
did
but
the
it's not
rage.
because he's basic. What they did was it's like her half sister. So like it's not Carrie. Like her name
Yes.
was Rachel. It didn't even rhyme with Carrie. They could have called her fucking Mary. But I actually really like that movie. So I think it's an underrated sequel, kind of like Pet Cemetery 2.
Yeah, and that was also directed by the same person who did Pet Sematary 1. So, which it doesn't get enough attention. But
No, I
yeah, maybe one day we'll review it somewhere. Figure a place.
love
I think it's a 90s horror.
90s. There you go.
There you go. But yeah, so I don't know. Um as far as like this movie goes, I mean, like I'd own it. I don't think I own it yet. I would own it just because it's sort of sentimental to me because at that time period, 2007 or 6 or whatever it was, I think 6, as you said, it was sort of that time period where I was just getting into the asylum and I was really enjoying them and it was
What's your
fun.
favorite?
What's my favorite asylum movie?
Mhm.
Interestingly enough, it is Beast of Bray Road, which is the movie that got
I've
me into,
heard of
which
that
like one of the
movie.
first ones that they like. It wasn't a mockbuster or anything. It was like a werewolf movie, taking place in Wisconsin, or whatever,
Is
based
it
on
like
like.
one of those that you would find on like a 6 pack at Walmart?
I don't think so. I don't think it
No,
ever got
I never
like
might
that.
have.
But it does have a DVD. I don't think it has a Blu-ray, which kind of sucks that the Asylum has never like upgraded their films to Blu-ray. I think he just honestly they're just kind of lazy about things. Like they're just like, you know, we made this, it's done. Let's move on to the, they're like Ed Wood, where like my next one will be better. You know,
Is
like
is Are You Scared Asylum?
no, but they did a TV. I don't think so. It might be. Are You Scared? Is that a TV show?
No, it was a movie, and there's like an Are You Scared too? It was like in the vein of like Saw, but it's called Are You Scared instead of Do You Want to Play a Game?
No, but Michael Pfeiffer produced it. So yeah, Michael Pfeiffer did a lot of indie straight to video horror films and still does, to this day.
Well, that would
So
make sense then, like because it kind of felt like this. So
yeah, he was one of those guys. There's a lot of these indie, low budget, almost micro budget filmmakers who just go out, make their movies, get it distributed. Back in the day, it was a lot easier. Back in the day of like the boom of DVDs and whatnot, you could and Blockbuster and everything. Before streaming, just I feel like kind of ruined everything. Like it's just it just for especially for micro budget filmmakers, they don't get deals, and everything like they used to, you know.
yeah, and I mean when you go to the video store, like they had like that's how like I discovered so many because like they would have them in the new like when I'd go to Family Video or like any place, I guess they would have like what movies are weekly releasing, and like even if they were like indie horror, they would still have what movies were releasing that week, and it
Exactly.
was just kind of cool.
Now
Well,
you just have
it
to
was
find that shit out online, and
right,
stuff. YouTube
and there's
channels
so much
do that.
content.
But
There's just so much content now.
well, and I also blame technology a little bit because the easy, everybody's just making a movie, and
Right.
getting it done, putting it out, and then putting it on Tubi, and a million movies are on Tubi. And then pretty soon, and this is my thought, and a lot of people have said, no, no, this won't happen, but this is my theory, and is that Tubi's eventually going to have to start cutting
Right.
back. They're going to have to pull a Netflix. They've already started their Tubi originals, which aren't very good, but
No, they're like
hopefully,
this film.
yeah, yeah. I think they're even worse than this film. Like,
Oh, the
um,
worst movie I watched last year was a Tubi original, and it was the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard.
interestingly enough, I worked with the people who produced that, so yeah,
Oh my God, it was fucking terrible. I'm sorry to the people that you worked with. It was
yeah,
god awful. Because I like literally was one of those people that watched the trial every day,
yeah. So
and
you,
so, and so just to see how like, I mean, literally, it was right at your fingertips. How do you get the words wrong?
yeah.
Like it's all over the internet. Like that's not what they said. I was there for that, you know. Is
Well,
the guy
I
who
think
played Johnny did an okay job, though. I will say that.
before this does turn into more 30 minutes, over
Right.
30 minutes and whatnot, I just want to say so you sort of enjoyed this movie, right? You had a good time.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I would probably watch like if I was like back in that era and had slumber parties, I definitely would have rented it and threw it on.
This is
It
something I'm going to add eventually to my collection. I'm probably going to get on DVD and whatnot through eBay or whatever, and buy it.
wasn't
I think more people should watch it. I hope like if I get the DVD, it comes with commentary, which a lot of the Asylum films did, and they don't do that much anymore, and it kind of bums me out. But a lot of places don't do commentary because it's just easier to just put the movie out, and that's it. It's lazier to just put out the movie, and I'm like I'm big on special features. But anyway, so guys, go watch it. We definitely sort of recommend it if you're into like kind of slashers stuff, or whatever. Torture. I almost thought like Saw kind of thing, except it's not torture porn necessarily, but
well, it kind of gets that way towards the end, but um
yeah,
the rest not so much.
yeah. It's very slasher like, and I just sort of enjoyed it for its it feels very retro now, watching it, so
Yeah,
it's
it
kind
wasn't
of
easy
cool.
to watch. It was fun.
All right, everybody, tune in. I'm not sure if it's going to be in 2 weeks or if it's going to be next month, but pretty soon Paul will have his episode up. And so thank you guys for checking this out, and thank you, Lacey, for coming
Yeah,
on, and
thanks.
we'll definitely have you back on for more of these kind of episodes and stuff.
Awesome.
So,
I dig
yeah.
it.
Everyone have a good one. Bye.
Bye.